Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul Show here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Hi, I'm Paul and I'll be your host this evening, or at least co-host this evening. We have a whole bunch of topics we're going to look at. Obviously, we're going to be talking Mitre 10 Cup and Farah Palmer Cup. We did the game-by-game review last night, so if you want a game-by-game review, then go check that out. I did that with Ashwin. We'll also be talking about how South Africa is returning to rugby. We'll probably have a quick look at what's happening over in Europe as well, because yes, there's rugby happening over there. And my co-host this evening, as always, is Mr. Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir? So technical issues there, as you can't find the unmute button, but apart from that, he's doing good. There, Steve.
Now he's found the unmute. What a shocker! Always a privilege and a pleasure to be on the show when you've turned your mute back on.
You got mute off.
Yeah, mute on, mute off. Yeah.
Oh, dearie me. And we have our stats expert, Boa. How are you doing, sir?
Very well. My highlight of the week, being on this show. Welcome to the show, wherever you are. Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. And it does scare me sometimes as to kind of the level of the rest of Boa's week, if this is his highlight. But hey, thank you so much for flattering us. Flattery gets you a long way. And also, we've got our Mitre 10 Cup starter this week. Dwayne, how are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me, team. Good to be back on the show. Been missing for a few weeks, but I'm back on the show, mate. Thanks for having me.
So how many massages have you had to go through? Have you managed to pack in your recovery session so far?
Well, I'll tell you, the first week, man, felt like I haven't played in a few weeks, so. Definitely got a few massages just to get the body back into action. But no, it's been pretty good, very good. And
rumours are that you've had a little voodoo doll that you've been sticking with a pin to get Finney Christie to have the appendicitis. So you got your start there. So would you like to confirm or deny those, or are you going to stay quiet on that one?
No comment.
Oh dear. I don't think we've actually had you on since the news that you moved down to Tasman happened. And we've had a quick chat off air about it, how it happened very quickly. It's sort of intriguing to me how these deals, or how sort of players find different provinces and stuff. So I was wondering if you could just give us a little insight as to how you end up sort of playing club rugby in Auckland. Apart from the coverage we gave you, I mean, no TV coverage. So there's no, it's not sort of public out there of what you've been up to. So how do the coaches at the other end of the country hear about you, and then find you and contact you, or is it your manager shopping you around all different provinces? How do players find a provincial contract if it's not in their own province?
Oh, I guess. Well, for me personally, it was I've been playing for Pakuranga for the last few weeks. So it was just, for me, it wasn't in the picture to play Mitre 10, but obviously rugby works in mysterious ways, and I was very blessed to get the opportunity. And rugby in New Zealand is such a small world. It's who and friends of friends of friends would know coaches, and our coaches as well are still fairly young, so they're still tied in with people who probably knew me from up here in Auckland, and it only takes a phone call or an email or something like that just to get in touch with current coaches or seeing who's around. I obviously got the opportunity through injury. Their second halfback went down during the season, I think it was, playing club rugby. And he blew out his knee, so they were in trouble, and they sort of showed interest in an experienced nine who's played some form of rugby, and I was lucky enough to get the call, obviously 2 weeks before the season even kicked off. So as I said, it was a quick turnaround. Sort of packed up shop, and now I'm here in sunny Nelson. So very blessed, very, very blessed.
And because it's interesting, because I did a post-match interview with Tony Lambourne, who obviously was playing for the Blues after the Southland game against Bear Plenty. He's talking about how he's been talking with the head coach down there, sort of since Christmas, so pretty much all year, discussing what they're doing. and then you're talking about getting picked up 2 weeks before. So there's clearly a wide range of ways that guys can end up in those places. I think, Stephen, you had an interesting one up in Northland as well with Pryor up there, how he basically kind of came in well under the radar.
Oh, very, very much so. And Dwayne, congratulations as well. And I was going to say, you're much too modest, mate. I've got to say, you're an international halfback, so any union would have been mad not to have looked at you as an option, just to have that extra cover there as well. So congratulations, firstly. Second thing is just on Kara Pryor. Yeah, a real interesting one. He was hanging around. He was in the wider training squad up in Northland. Obviously, a couple of injuries to the Jacobson, I think his name is, who plays for Northland. He's got head injuries at the moment, and then also Simoni Naku. I'm not even going to begin to try and pronounce his name, but young Fijian boy from Waipu, both injured, and Kara got his opportunity, and it's fantastic to see. But you can also see it with wise guy Faiani as well, who was actually outside. He came from the wider training squad, and I've got to say those two players, despite Northern being on the end of a hammering last Friday night, I thought Wise Guy played well, and I thought Dan were probably the best for Northern. And Dwayne, you probably had a first-hand look yourself if you played against them, so I thought they went pretty well for Northern.
Yeah, very much so. I played off both actually, Wise Guy and Kara back in a couple of years ago for Auckland Bees. He always had the potential, and just he did have a break a couple of years ago. So it's good to see him still running around. Still runs like an outside back. I think he chased down now a winger, Lester Whanganuku, on the wing. So a very, very talented player, along with the Wise Guy as well, who he had the privilege of playing with him over at Pukaranga as well. So he was our 10, young 10, straight out of school, I think it was. And it's good to see him take the opportunities up north. And I thought he played well, kicked well. And yeah, just one of those things. Results didn't go their way, but I thought he handled himself quite well for a young 10. So big future.
But you're talking about Kara Pryor there, Stephen. You were talking about actually he came back, was playing club rugby. The coaches were set up in Northland, didn't realise he'd come back at all. Turned up to watch some club rugby, to do some scouting, and it's like, oh wow, we've got a Super Rugby player from running around in our club competition that hasn't told us he's here, hasn't been asking for a contract, has turned up because he enjoys playing rugby for his club, and gets selected. I think there's a whole bunch of guys at this level who, because there was also a prop for Tasman who retired, gone blank. Perry, is it? I think it is.
Tim Perry.
Yeah, Tim Perry, who didn't say I'm retiring or didn't do any announcements, just didn't sign a contract for the following year and went off onto his farm and went pig hunting. And there's no announcement, no kind of send off or thank you. There's all guys, just playing for the fun of it and just playing as high as they get asked to play. Really, I think, which I think is a great thing about the Minor 10 Cup.
Just a quick question, Dwayne, and I think I'll bring Boa on this one as well. Now I know the Tasman region, there's only really 10 clubs down there, so I think there's five on the Marlborough side and 5 on the Nelson side. So they do incredibly well, and there's obviously a little bit of talk about maybe players who have played Super Rugby and they've brought in a couple of players here and there. But boy, you've got to give that union big ups for not only when it comes to talent identification, but also the local guys that they've actually brought into the competition, and they've brought some really good footballers. I know one of the props that was playing for Northland, Tyler Kearns is originally a Nelson boy, and he was playing for Northland. And boy, I think you'll also remember Sione Havili from the Auckland Club competition as well, boy.
Indeed. And so let me just add to the whole scouting scenario. And firstly, let me start by saying congrats, Dwayne. I think your performances in the Gallagher Shield for Pakuranga really earned you that spot. Fantastic season. The reality is nationwide, all the unions, there's a good informal coaching network, especially the high performance coaches in the respective provinces. They talk a lot to coaches at club premier grade in other provinces, specifically Auckland. For example, my club, Manuka Rowers, obviously South Auckland, it's a rich catchment area for talent. And we're constantly in informal chats with coaches right around the country. And there are certain KPIs they look for, and they look for certain attributes and aspects and skills in players for specific positions. So I think, Dwayne, you've done tremendously well, and keeping someone out like Christie, and I think on form, you have to be the starting halfback as we speak. Hopefully that will continue. So it's all about people networking, and as the competition, especially the Gallagher Shield, as it unwinds, these discussions are being had, video being looked at, and always talking about how these players, what's the attitude like, what do they do at training, how do they respond. So yeah, it's a big network, and I guess the lesson which needs to be learned is that if you do well at your respective club, it's only a matter of time before you get noticed, and eventually that phone call will come.
So I've just brought up on screen so folks can see the 11 teams that are in the Tasman area. So yeah, you're right. It is a small catchment. When you think that, and talking to the head coaches there, that they don't just pick from the top teams. If you feel good enough, even if you're playing for a losing team, you'll get selected for the Tasman and given a chance at Mitre 10 Cup level, which I think is a strong thing that we've seen from several provinces. I talk to them to the head coaches pre-season, because club rugby should be about playing with your mates, and that's how we keep people in club rugby. It's about playing with your mates. So forcing people to say, "Oh, you've got to go somewhere to get selected," I think is a bad way of doing it. And we've seen that in some provinces. We're not going to name names and point fingers, but it's good to see that in somewhere like Tasman, they did go around all of them. Even if you have got teams like gone blank, the Wanderers down there who only won 2 games out of 8, they'll sort of have the coaches there who have gone and seen them and checked them all out. So we have a question from the live chat for you, Dwayne. Who has stood out for you at halfback during the first 2 rounds of the Mitre 10 Cup? And Nocturnal also says congratulations for getting into the Tasman squad. I don't know how much Mitre 10 Cup games you get to watch, but so yeah.
Yeah, you're probably looking at the Waikato bloke at number 9 at the moment. He's probably been the form 9, scored a few great tries. He's just been an all-round sort of successful 9 at the moment, along with his halfback pairing as a reserve halfback as well. He's sort of come in and put a little bit of a spark when he goes off. So I think his name is Xavier, I think it is. So I think
that's Xavier Rowe, and I'm just going to throw a quick link in the chat to my post-match interview with him the other day.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I think he's been the form 9, and obviously you've got the All Blacks boys who's been running around. So yeah, we've got some decent 9s running around. But he's been the form 9 in terms of someone that no one knew, and still sort of fairly young. I think he's only 20, 21. So some exciting times in the scrum half area for New Zealand.
Yeah, young guy who he went down to Taranaki and had a couple of seasons down there before. He's a Waikato boy and has come back to Waikato. As I say, just throwing the link there into the live chat for people who want to have that Xavier Rowe interview. But yeah, and you mentioned it. He's the reserve scrum half down there, and a lot of people when you sit in the media box, you hear a few comments from backroom staff. It's not just media in there. There's all sorts of other people who walk through. And yeah, there was actually a bit of surprise to see that Xavier got the starting slot there. And actually the guy on the bench didn't start because, yeah, they're both very good. Yeah, both very nippy. But yeah, Xavier's really stepped up and had a great start to that one. So this is kind of interesting, isn't it? So Oxford said, right, says there's an opening in the next couple of years coming up with the All Blacks. Is there really? I mean, I think both Aaron Smith and CJ Perenara are signed through to the next Rugby World Cup. You kind of wonder, as an up and coming scrum half, do you look at that and go, geez, I might as well go overseas because I'm not going to get an All Black cap? I mean, what do you, Stephen, Boa, it's a bit harsh to put that one on Dwayne. What do you guys? You think having those guys sort of signed through to the next World Cup will put a block on other guys coming through?
Boy, you can take that.
Well, look, with what's currently happening and the level of competition, look, Europe and other countries, they're not a bad option for making money, but I just feel staying local, playing in the competitions, trying to work your way through. You're never out of the picture. And I think it's important that you got to make a decision based on a certain timeline. So with younger players, if they're willing to stick it out for 24 to 36 months and improve their game and work on, because there's a lot of quality coaching stuff around. There's a lot of learning resources around, and of course, if you hang around some good enough players, and provinces are looking to beef up their squads with wider training groups, all you need is one opportunity, and if you're good enough, you take it, and you get better. So my view of the world is, I think the longer you stick around, the harder you work on your game, and actually have a good line of communication with your high performance coaches. You work on certain aspects of your game. You're always a chance. But I guess you've got to wait up if you want to be a professional rugby player and want to make a living out of it. The temptation is great. Best example being Ben Lam. Straight away into the Parisian team. I was looking at some of his highlights, and man, he ripped everyone up to shreds. And it just goes to show that how good a talent pool we have here in New Zealand. And it's the rugby which is currently being played is absolutely next level.
Yeah, I mean,
Paul, I was about to say, I reckon it was the weekend of the halfback, because if you saw some of the performance by our halfbacks over the weekend, and that includes Dwayne's performance on Friday night, boy, we saw some outstanding other performances as well. If we work our way back from yesterday, I thought TJ just ran the cutter at Eden Park yesterday. The game a couple of games I was switching between Hawke's Bay and the Manawatu well beaten, but Aaron Smith outstanding in a beaten team, and of course Brad Weber and also Jonathan Tamatane for Counties Manukau, very, very good as well. But all the halfbacks, Milo Harris, I thought was good for Taranaki. Also on when was that? Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. So, I thought all the halfbacks, and of course Xavier Rowe, we haven't even got to him. All the halfbacks on the weekend, you've got to say, absolutely excelled. And even the two halfbacks, I think to Tahuarangi was pretty outstanding for. I think he was the man of the match for Bay of Plenty on Saturday night. Yeah, so the halfbacks, they're just on fire at the moment, some of our halfbacks, and it's almost like the top guys have put the bar up there, and the rest of them have all said, man, we're going to follow you. So that Nocturnal Rights could be right. If younger guys keep playing with this sort of form, the only way you really lose your place if your form drops off and somebody's better than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've got TJ and obviously and Aaron at the top there. I mean, we're talking about some other players in this one. I mean, Finley Christie, he's 26. Triple T's 25. You got Sam Knock running around 24. Milo Harris 23. And then we're talking about Xavier Rowe and all these other. I mean, there's a lot of young scrum halves running around at the moment. It really is. It's kind of scary. What we need is more tall guys. We're lacking in locks. So yeah, I think we need to get the stretching racks open on and get kids on the racks, getting stretched to be tall enough.
especially with young potential players looking to go overseas, the safest place is right here, right now in New Zealand. So I think, if anything, young guys who are probably off contract or looking for a contract, the safest place is probably here in New Zealand. And as Boaz sort of mentioned, the coaching pool here is so good that your game itself should improve week in, week out. If you're not listening to the coaches, then there's something wrong, because the coaching pool here is just second to none. So it's probably the best right now.
Paul, I was going to say, TJ's performance yesterday, whilst there was some fantastic performance from halfbacks, I'd have to say TJ's performance yesterday, when you think about it, his pick, especially at scrum time, was under pressure big time. But he knew exactly how to, I think manipulate's probably a bit of a harsh word, basically run the cutter with both the referee and from the back of the scrum. And a good halfback knows when his scrum is under pressure, he'll just get it in and get it out. They didn't muck around. And I think between him and Artie, they just controlled the back of that scrum beautifully. But that great performances. And I think Xavier Rowe, I think he has to come into that conversation as well. He was so good for a young guy.
And gentlemen, what I have to say is, with the current Mitre 10 NPC squads, once the All Blacks are taken out of the equation, that means more opportunity for some of these younger guys. So all it means is they'll get noticed. They'll get noticed, and then players from the wider squad, or i.e. the contender squads, come into the main squads. So there's so many avenues, and it's a case of working on your game. And as Dwayne pointed out, because of technology and because provincial coaches are always looking to get an edge in high performance, there's a lot of communication happening between provincial coaches, super coaches, and club premier grade coaches, and a lot of information gets passed up and down. I know for a fact that, for example, the Auckland coaches, they talk to myself and my coaching staff at Manukau, and they ask us to work with certain players on certain KPIs, certain skills. And we pass that information back onto that. It's no different with what Dwayne is doing. I mean, he has a fantastic coach in John Clough, former coach of the year in Auckland Rugby at Pakuranga. All that experience, all that skills, they get put, to good use. There's a lot of collaboration going on. So, it's this is a purple little patch for New Zealand rugby. Hopefully NZR and all the other, all the provinces make use of it. We're not short of player talent, and we're not short of these players getting opportunity to go and do their thing. So hopefully we have enough players sticking around, use the homegrown option, and just keep pushing the bar.
So on it's talking about going back to the TJ one again. Got an interview with him after the game in Auckland yesterday. I've not put that one up yet, but I'll be putting that one up after the show. So look out for that one on the New Zealand Sports Radio Facebook page. And TJ does talk about how he went against Xavier Rowe. And I also asked him about the different levels of pressure that he faces at All Blacks versus Super Rugby versus Mitre 10 Cup. And he said, look, the pressure I put on myself is way more than you guys in the media can do. And Dwayne, when you're playing for Samoa, or when you're playing for over there in MLR, or here in Mitre 10 or in club rugby, how do you react to, I guess, the pressure or the external stimuli of playing in those games? Obviously, you have bigger crowds for the Rugby World Cup than you have playing for Pakuranga. Does that alter how you feel during the game?
No, for me personally, I'm pretty okay with pressure. Like, I think as a player, as long as you're going through your processes and you know yourself personally that you've done all you can during the week to prepare for that game, then there should be no fault. You know yourself if you've given 120% in your preparation during the week. Nutrition, your homework in terms of reading the game, catching up with coaches on feedback, what you can do better the next day. So I guess for me personally, it's just breaking down each day, knowing what my role is, especially, as a 9, what I'm doing, if it's 120%, and if I'm delivering the right pull, kicking the right box kickers and stuff like that, if I'm doing that 120% going into the game, there should be no pressure. And I guess if it's all pretty much cliche, but if you're listening to the outside noise, then you're worrying too much. You're letting that affect you. So yeah, and that's a whole other conversation about mental health and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess it's just what the pressure you put on yourself is pretty much the pressure you're gonna go into each and every game. But I think the biggest thing for me coming back home in New Zealand and especially playing in Tasman is the enjoyment factor. You can tell with the coaches, they've given us the license to, with confidence, throw the ball around when it's on. And it's not risky football. It's just playing with confidence and having that enjoyment factor. And, the tries that we score are purely structured. It looks like it's unstructured, but it's actually, a lot of the plays are structured. So, and that comes from enjoyment factor and trust within the team. So, yeah. Hopefully that.
So as half the team from Tasman are heading off now to the All Blacks, so you've got teams like Tasman, Canterbury, Auckland, Wellington, clearly who are going to be more impacted. I don't think Southland have got one player in the All Blacks. Well, they're probably the only ones that don't. So we've got a whole range of provinces. Some with Southland, we probably no disruption. Northland, Manawatu losing like one player in Goodhue and Aaron Smith, and so all the way through to Auckland, where you've got Caleb Clark, Patrick Tupulotu, Hoskins Tutu, Akira Iwani, Rico Iwani, and there's going to be other guys I've forgotten as well who are there. Guys, how much do you think how much do you think we can take from the first two rounds as a projection as to how we'll go in round three? I mean, are we going to see total some fairly wide variations in form, or do you think actually the first two rounds are going to be a good guide even with the All Blacks being removed?
Well, firstly, Paul, Canterbury, regardless of losing their All Blacks, will be bloody grumpy. They'll be grumpy. They'll be grumpy as hell. And the guys that come into that side will want to prove a point. That I can tell you. So I don't really know if they will drop their standards too much about what they put in. Sure, they lose a little bit of experience there, but the guys that come in, they're a very proud union, so they're not going to be easy. And I think Tasman are very similar. Whilst you're losing a few guys, you've still got some Super Rugby experience. You've still got some guys to call on. I mean to say your wingers, you're still going to have the likes of Mark Talia, David Havili, guys like that running around. I think there's a boy, Jamie Spowart, who's down there as well. Speaking of Auckland guys, hey, they often say, I've got to say this too, they often say when Auckland rugby's strong, New Zealand's rugby's strong. I actually believe that 100% of the time. I know there'll be some people thinking that I'm actually on drugs, but if you look at the amount of Auckland players that are farmed around New Zealand, it basically props a lot of provinces up. Anyway, that's another story for another day. And then you've got the likes of, Dwayne likes that, then you've got the likes of Wellington. Wellington will be strong. They're a good young side, and they play an attractive brand of rugby, and they've still got the core. Those sides will still be hard to knock over. Sure, it might bring them back to the field a little bit, but boy, to knock over a premiership side, especially the four better ones, and even if you look at Auckland's depth is pretty strong. You're still going to have, you're still going to have Plummer and Ruru in the halves. You're still going to have Faiani at second five. They'll still put a decent side out on the paddock. Some of these stronger unions.
Dwayne, are you expecting differences, or do you think the strong unions will stay strong, and the ones that have been struggling will still struggle?
Yeah, just like what Stephen said, I think a lot of the bigger unions are well equipped and sort of were aware of their All Blacks going. And I guess the challenge now is probably on the individuals. It's time for them to step up, take the opportunity. And a lot of those All Blacks, who probably knew that they were going to be there for 2 weeks. The guys in waiting knew that they were going to get the opportunity. So it depends on how each team and each individual see it. Is it a challenge or is it a risk? And man, if they're willing and able to embrace it, I'm sure a lot of the teams will step up. We'll probably, yeah, as Stephen said, Auckland, who I know a fair bit of, are well equipped. They've, they got numbers through and through internationals who are in waiting as well, because obviously they're blessed off so many good props. So in their core group, they still got the 19s, as Stephen sort of said. Faiane is running the cutter as well, and then obviously just a change in the midfield, which wouldn't be too hard. I think they've got a couple of Super Rugby boys in waiting as well. Canterbury on the same thing. Guys who just will drop in and change, and Canterbury's just a strong union. Very, very lucky to have their players as well. So I don't think much will change. Obviously, just a couple of superstar names in the lineup, but other than that, there'll still be some exciting rugby in the next couple of weeks.
Now, just breathing in before I do this. Obviously, got the got the Naki jersey on, as they've as they've got the Ranfurly Shield. I'll be honest, I didn't rate Naki this year at all. I thought they were going to struggle, and I still think that that losing the two Barretts and Vair, I think they're going to struggle without that leadership. Bella, what's your thoughts? Do you think they're up for a couple of good Ranfurly Shield defences, or do you think they're going to struggle having lost those three?
Well, first of all, I think all the provinces, they've planned and they're actually quite ready, especially Auckland. They've made their calculations based on not having a single All Black. And, they've got plenty of reinforcements, and this will give opportunities to some of those fringe players who are just, knocking on the door to get a Super Rugby contract. And I'm actually expecting all the provinces to play more rugby with ball in hand, because most of these players coming in, they want to prove a point. And given that we've had 2 rounds, the run-on fitness is good. We're going to see some exciting rugby. So it's not going to have a huge impact. But coming back to your question, Taranaki, I think they'll struggle a little bit, because for me, the highlight in the Taranaki game against Canterbury was there was a loose cross kick from Richie Maunga, uncontested, straight into the hands of Jody Barrett. Barrett throws his big, wide cutout pass, attacking that right edge. Who gets the ball? Bowden Barrett. He absolutely rips the grass, looks for the space, pricks his ears, goes for the corner flag, gets an inside pass. Fantastic rugby. So I think these 2 boys will be missed. I'm looking forward to seeing what Taranaki can offer. And hopefully the Ranfurly Shield reign as champions will last longer than 1 game.
Oh,
really? Hopefully. Jeez. Nocturnal Rights in the live chat's like, no. I want Otago to win it and to bring it down south. Stephen?
I think this Taranaki team, regardless of losing their All Blacks, they'll still be on a high. They'll want to keep that shield. They'll want to show that this is not just a flash in the pan. They've got Otago. Unfortunately, maybe the game that could be one heck of a game, but we know Auckland always get a torrid time down in New Plymouth, although it won't be in New Plymouth this year, it'll be in Inglewood. And that could be a great road trip to go down and watch an Auckland take on Taranaki that particular weekend, and mark that one in your calendar, Saturday the 10th of October. Now, that could be a crucial game for Taranaki, but you just know they lift. Dwayne's probably felt it in the past when he's played for maybe an Auckland development side. They all love to knock over Auckland, especially with the rural teams. I don't know if some of these teams are going to drop their standard too much. They'll be very, very tough to beat.
Especially against Auckland, I think Wellington showed the perfect blueprint. Auckland this year are reliant on line speed, lots and lots of line speed in defense. And I think Garden Bishop with that cross kick right across the paddock where Westhuizen takes a perfect peach of a catch, dots it down. That's pretty much the blueprint to beat line speed, where defenses just rush right up and don't worry about that outside channel. So most of these coaches, most of these teams would have taken notes, and it'll be interesting to see how they look to exploit Auckland's defensive pattern.
Boy, I was going to say, Jackson Garden Bishop is a player I absolutely admire, because he is not shy to try that cross kick. Even if it doesn't work a first time, he'll actually try it again. And what I'm starting to notice with his game, is a lot more consistency. And I mentioned TJ, how well he played yesterday, but I thought those two together, along with Artie, boy, they were the catalyst. And then you had the Energizer Bunny, Moore running around making monstrous tackles in the second half, and he carries so hard. And I've got to say, Wellington's one of those teams, boy, when they are on form, they're a real attractive side to watch when they get it right. Obviously, their set piece, they got away with it yesterday. Auckland weren't quite good enough to exploit it, but yeah, just love that confidence that Jackson Garden Bishop shows, and he'll try something, and he's, it's killing a lot of teams. That cross kick is going to kill a lot of teams because he's so accurate with it.
Yeah, but also the chips in behind as well. There were lots of chips in behind. There was no sweeper there to collect it. And TJ, did a lot of that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Again, that comes down to Auckland's defensive pattern. This, line speed. It's called killing the man. They try to kill the movement within two passes. So it's a risk reward sort of strategy. If you're on and if you make sure that you make those tackles first up, so good. But again, kudos to Wellington. They really outthought and they were prepared for line speed and they kick right behind. Also, one thing I have to say, Auckland, that first try, the what I call the fishtail maul, brilliant execution. Throw goes to the tail, number 6 takes it, sets up the driving maul, and they shepherd it infield towards the goalpost. Brilliant tactic. For some strange reason, Auckland just deviated from that tactic and invited Wellington right back into the game.
Oh.
So, Stephen.
I've got a question for Dwayne. Listen, sometimes when you see that winger unmarked out on the far side of the field, like, to me, it's leaving your front door open in West Auckland. You're just inviting somebody to come. It's like you're inviting somebody to come into your place. It's as simple as that.
Hey, look, you can't just say for West Auckland though. If you do it, if you do it in Meadowbank or in Remuera, you're asking for the same thing, mate. Not God, dearie me.
I Stephen would say South Auckland, but
I was waiting for that too.
Unfortunately, we have history. But I was going to say to Dwayne, when you can actually see something, when you can actually see a picture of what a team are intending to do, do you actually back that defensive pattern, even though your winger might sort of come in a bit and defend, or are you thinking to yourself, man, is this guy, if we put enough pressure on the first 5 so he fluffs his execution, kicks it too far, or just puts pressure on him, is that pretty much the plan? Or do you say, listen, we'll send a guy, we'll put a guy sort of halfway between in and defending out?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the defensive patterns and sort of certain teams that know how to diffuse it. And either you leave last and the fullback will cover that. We can talk about different things or variations on defense. And yeah, just like what you said, Auckland probably went hard in the midfield and thought that the best place to deal with Wellington was probably straight through the middle, line speed. And probably the beauty about what Wellington did was they adjusted and probably took a step back and allowed them to come, invited them, and pretty much launched those kicks either just in behind or to the winger. And, we got wingers like Wes Houston and also on the other side as well, finished those beautiful kicks by Bishop. So I think sorry?
I was going to say, was that also a sign of respect for the Wellington midfield of Umanga Jensen and Vince Hassel as well?
I'd say so, yes. You probably don't want to give them time with ball in hand. Vince finished a few great tries purely because of speed, but give Vince and guys like that, Proctor, time in the midfield as well. Umanga Jensen, sorry, and you're probably gonna they're gonna have a field day just like any other team. You give them space and time, they're going to score some points, and Auckland probably saw as that cutting their space, probably forgetting about the outside and trusting that their last man, will collect or finish the tackle, and probably didn't work out the way they did. And Wellington nullified that really well. Like I said, probably took a step back, held their depth, invited Auckland to come and then make the decisions. Gave them time and space to, as a 10. Bishop just controlled it beautifully, either kick over the top, as I said, or just to the corner. So I think Wellington played it really well. And Auckland maybe didn't adjust their defensive plays. Who knows? So Wellington came away with the win.
You guys, with line speed, you see this a lot in the European Championship, Japan. It works really well because the attack patterns are quite flat. They play flat off the ruck or set piece. Whereas here in New Zealand, teams are very good at adjusting and attacking from depth. So that makes a huge difference. A really good example I can give you is the best proponent of attacking from depth was the Australian and Brumbies first five, David Knox. During the Grieg and Larkham days, they used to attack from depth, and no matter how fast you come up, they always had time, and they were very good at using the cross kick. Now, if you recall the North v South game, that last play where we had Air Jordan flying through the air, Joshua Ioane puts that cross kick. So again, there's lots of similarities, lots of learnings. It's been transferred. And Garden Bishop, obviously, trying to play to a certain template and use certain tactics which are effective. And again, this comes back to what I said before. There's a lot of cross communication. There's a lot of information sharing at high performance level, and hopefully some of these younger players get access to it, learn quickly, and put it out on the field, and then they will get noticed, and the higher honors will keep coming.
So I just want to we've obviously been talking a lot about New Zealand. And we've got some other things going on. So South Africa is returning to rugby. Wow. Yes. So, folks, what do we have? On the 26th of September, we're going to have a Super Rugby double header in South Africa. They're following that up with Green versus Gold, which is going to happen on the 3rd of October. And then they head off into what is being called Super Rugby Unlocked. Between the 10th of October through to the 21st of November. And whoever's at the top of the league at that point will win the Vodacom Super Rugby Unlocked title. They will then carry on playing through to the 23rd of January. And those extra games will also count towards the Currie Cup semi-finals and a final on the 23rd of January. Wow. Now, Dwayne, have you played over in South Africa?
No, I haven't.
No, you haven't. Okay.
Really good. Heard good news. Good things.
Good things. I'm not sure you've heard good things about playing in January in, well, say South Africa, though, in the scorching hot middle of summer. So Hugh, a friend of the show, always tells me that, look, for the first rounds of basically during February and March, during if you're playing away, if you're looking at a Sharks game in Durban, you're not going to get a try bonus point because it's just too hot to play rugby and too hot to run. These guys will be playing through till 23rd of January. So good luck to them there. That is going to be an absolute scorcher. But guys, have you guys heard of the concepts around the green and gold competition? Did you hear this one yet? So what's going to happen is the Springbok coaches are going to split themselves up into green and gold, a bit like the North-South we had here in New Zealand. They're then going to take a pool of 40 players. I think it is. No, it can't be 40 players. It's more than that because you need 23 on each side. So it must be 60 players. And then they're going to play schoolyard tactics. Basically, each coach gets to select one player, and they take it in turns to select players out of that pool of players to make up their squad. So, yes, none of this kind of Ian Hansen deciding who's going to play where. This is the two coaches going to sit down and go, and have all the players lined up in the playground and go, I'll take Henry Pollard. And the other guy will go, oh, well, I will have, I've gone blank now, Bismarck the Police. I don't know why I'm saying him because I'm not sure he plays anymore. But anyway,
So
do you like...
Pollard's gone. He had a terrible, unfortunate knee injury. And they've actually named 94 players in this wider Springbok selection squad for schoolyard tactics. So there you go.
So what are your thoughts of the schoolyard tactics and in their voice?
Look, first of all, I have to say there was a lot of noise coming out of South Africa with some of their former greats saying the Springboks should not, I repeat, should not play in the rugby championship. So I thought that was quite an interesting concept because here you are, the reigning world champions who don't want to play the game, they are World Rugby Champions in. So I think there's a little bit of a credibility issue there because they were afraid of getting hiding, and I think I can see that side of it. But the reality is, as fans, we just want to see rugby. So a rugby championship without the reigning world champions, is not quite a championship.
But before you go any further on that one, money will talk. Every union needs money at the moment. They'll front up their team.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if you're afraid of getting hiding, say so. And just play with who's willing to play. I mean, it's a free world. You can't force players and coaches. Just show up and do your thing. And it's just it applies the same for the All Blacks and the Wallabies and the Pumas. You can't force people if players don't want to be part of it. Fine, no problem. Pick those who want to be.
So, Dwayne, how would you feel about having a public selection in that way as a player, where the two coaches are publicly selecting who they want in order?
It's a bit like when you're back at school and you definitely don't want to be the last one to get picked because, that's a bit embarrassing, eh? But, I mean, different tactics to what the North-South and stuff. But, it's definitely different. And it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But probably a good thing for them as well. They've got a big talent pool. A lot of players probably haven't played rugby due to COVID, so run the risk of injuries as well. So they probably have to have a big pool of players to pick from, anyways.
Stephen, you kind
of. In terms of ideas, that's about as out there as I've ever heard in my life. For starters. Seriously, why not? Here's a novel idea. Why not just pick what you perceive as your best side and put them up against guys who are trying to make that best side, like a proper trial. To me, it's absolutely nuts. There's the rivalry in South Africa is huge. The guys that live up on the high veld don't exactly like the guys who live down on the seaside towns like in Durban and Cape Town, etc. So. I just don't. I really don't get it. It's it's something out of left field, if you know what I mean, guys. I think they would be better off putting the best side and putting the pressure, because when you've got guys who want to make that side, that's the only way you actually get a good amount of pressure. Guys who want to make that particular side. It's weird to me. But then again, this is South African rugby we're talking about.
Yeah, and guys, look, I really don't see the problem for the Springboks showing up because most of their guys are playing in Europe. I mean, if you look at the European and also the French competitions, it's completely littered with South Africans. So there's your talent pool, and I think they're just making an excuse of and being afraid of getting a good old-fashioned thumping.
You can see that's coming from in the fact that New Zealand have been playing. Now, or New Zealand teams and Australian teams have had lots of match practice, and they've basically had none, right? So you can understand where it's coming from. But personally, I don't think it should happen. But talking about the green and gold thing, I put out a Twitter poll. I thought they might have done a coast versus country kind of style, like basically you've got the Stormers and the Sharks on the coast, and you got the Lions and the Bulls as your country teams. But as you can see from my Twitter poll, green and gold got the one. So people, look, it's caught the imagination of the public, and you got to say that is that's an important, important part of this, because it's about providing entertainment to a certain degree. Aaron says, how would you get team cohesion? It's a one-off game. It's just to give the guys a run out more than anything else. It's not as a serious game in the same way that a rugby championship one is. So I think that's you're not going to get team cohesion in that game. North versus South, clearly you do, because Canterbury basically is the South team, isn't it? There is some there. So interesting from it's not a serious game, but it's one that I think is going to catch the imagination, has caught the imagination of the public, which I think is going to be a good thing from a marketing point of view and from just an eyeballs point of view.
And just answer Aaron's question there, how they're going to get cohesion. You have to understand, Rassi Erasmus, as director of coaching in South Africa, he has earmarked most of these players in the high performance program. So it's not that they're completely new to each other. So there's probably some method to this madness of picking schoolyard stuff. So I guess it's just a matter of, getting some training runs together. It's not going to be perfect, but I don't think that's the whole idea of this exercise. The idea is to see who can actually put their best foot forward and put their hand up for selection to be a Springbok.
Yeah, it's a trial match. It's not a series. Yeah, exactly. Just for those who are wondering, when I was talking about so Super Rugby Unlocked is going to include obviously Vodacom Bulls, the Chelsea Sharks, the Emirates Lions, the DHL Stormers. They'll be joined by the Toyota Cheetahs, the Fakisa Pumas, and my favourite team, purely because they're sponsors, the Tafel Lager Grikas. Yes, I'm going for the team that's got the beer sponsor. So there we go. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to see the build up. I think it's going to be plenty of fun banter in the on social media between players around. Hey, you were picked 23rd. I was picked 4th. I'm so much better than you are, kind of stuff. I think it's going to be fun to see how that goes. As Dwayne says, you wouldn't want to be picked last. That's for certain.
Well, the first player to be picked will be Cheslin Colby. Man, he's having an outstanding run of form. Some highlights. If you guys want to check it out on YouTube, just go Cheslin Colby stepping. You some serious ankle breaking happening there.
It is. I think the green and gold is just purely going to be South African-based players. So I don't think the European players will be released for that. So I think the green and gold piece will be South African-based players. But the Rugby Championship should have the European-based players in there. The oh dear me, I'm sorry for putting you to sleep there, Stephen. With the we can drop you off the show. Don't worry. There you go. You've gone now. You can go to sleep. Dearie me. So, just to give you up to date. So, last weekend we got around to Waikato North Harbour in the Mitre 10 Cup. I caught the end of Bay of Plenty versus Waikato. I was at Bay of Plenty Southland in the Mitre 10. So that was the Farah Palmer Cup. And then we're at Auckland for Auckland counties in the Farah Palmer Cup and Auckland Wellington in the Mitre 10 Cup. This coming weekend, folks, we're down to level 1 in the rest of the country outside of Auckland, which means crowds. Yay! So if you are going to be at the Farah Palmer Cup game, Bay of Plenty versus Taranaki over at Blake Park in Mount Maunganui, then give me a shout. I'm going to head over to that game. Stephen will be heading around the corner and bridge traffic permitting. Hopefully he'll make it on time to Kumu for North Harbour versus Auckland in the Farah Palmer Cup. So those 2 games are on Saturday. Then on Sunday, Stephen will be covering Auckland Manua 2 at Eden Park in the Mitre 10 Cup, and I'll be getting down to counties for counties versus Northland in the Farah Palmer Cup, followed by counties versus Northland in the Mitre 10 Cup. So we'll be covering 5 games in the Farah Palmer Cup and Mitre 10 Cup this weekend. 3 from the Farah Palmer Cup, 2 from the Mitre 10 Cup. There you go, folks. 3 women's games, only 2 men. That's got to be that's a first. So there we are. I've gone blank. I forgot what the player's name on Twitter, who shouts a lot about it. She'll be loving it that we're going to get more female games than male games this weekend. So that's where we're going to be. Dwayne, I guess you'll be playing this weekend.
We're building up to Waikato this week, so hopefully find out tomorrow once we name the team. But pretty exciting. Tough match for us. Waikato's going quite well. Probably the form team at the moment, so should be a good battle. We're looking forward to it as well.
Yep, obviously Waikato sons of Antoinette Brown and Damon McKenzie. That means Retina, a young under 20s New Zealand player will be coming in. So I'll be looking at seeing how he goes. Had a chat with him last season. So yeah, lots of young talent on display there for that game. Boa, you've got stats expert in your title there. Have you been following the stats in the Mitre 10 Cup this year?
Some of it, yes, I have.
Have you seen any differences between what we saw in the Super Rugby, Aotearoa, and Mitre 10 Cup? What from a stats point of view have we seen that's changed?
Well, the gap between the ball staying live in play is starting to get closer and closer. Because usually in Test rugby, you see about 40 to 45 minutes. So that's one complete half of ball live in play. So there's no stoppages, there's no whistle. It's all action. Super Rugby this year, Super Rugby Aotearoa was almost as good as Test Rugby. So far in Mitre 10 or NPC, we are looking round about 30 to 35 minutes. So I think that's a huge step forward. That's accolade to the coaches, strength and conditioning trainers, and also the players themselves. They work hard, they put the yards in, they're fit, they focus mentally. So that means there's more action on field. Ball stays live in play. So it's great value for the fans. It's great viewing for the TV audiences, the commentators, basically everyone. So I think that's a real good indicator. You compare that against what's happening in the Premiership in, for example, England, it's around about 20 to 22 minutes, which is quite abysmal. So for about an hour and sort of 20 minutes, you're just ambling. Whistle, stop, scrum, resets. So that's a real positive sign we're seeing.
So Dwayne, have you actually felt that when playing that the ball in time has stepped up at Mitre 10?
Yeah, definitely. The jump from Auckland Club Rugby to Mitre 10 is definitely a massive jump with ball in play. So personally, I feel it as a 9. It's definitely there. But obviously with international experience, it's a bit like that. What Boa said. Ball and play is a lot longer, and I felt it with the Mitre 10. First sort of glimpse of it last week against Northland, and the type of rugby and the brand that we play is keeping the ball alive. So we're definitely the lungs will be be in the hospital soon trying to find some new lungs. So that definitely can feel it, and those stats are getting closer to Super Rugby. And the beauty about Mitre 10 this year is that a lot of the players are from Super Rugby, and a lot of the All Blacks were playing as well in the last 2 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how the stats will be this coming week, especially with the All Blacks players gone in vital positions. Would be 10s, 9s, and also fullbacks as well, who tend to kick the ball, keep it inside, and ball and play is quite long. So it'll be interesting to see how the stats are next week.
So there you go, Boa. You've been given a to do for next week's show. How does the ball in play change?
I'm gonna give everyone a bit of a tip this week. So this week I've been doing some numbers, and I'm actually tipping the man on screen, Dwayne, to score a try, and Tasman to win by 9 points or lesser. There you go. Those are the numbers.
You can't be. Oh, dearie me.
So no pressure, Dwayne. No pressure.
No comment.
No, you can't be doing that. Take mute, Stephen.
I'm quite excited about this game this weekend that you're playing against Waikato, because you get to see Xavier Rowe firsthand. That's if you're the starting halfback this weekend, Dwayne. So I'm really excited about that. But I also wanted to ask you, having seen Danny Tusitala run around on the wing this year, and of course we saw Jamie Booth running around on the wing for Manawatu and scoring a try. Is it any truth to the rumour that you're also wing cover for Tasman as well?
I tell you what, the amount of outside backs we have, mate, I'll probably be the 50th option to. Look, I'll tell you what, I'll probably whisper in Goody's ear just to say, look, I'll have a run on the wing for about 5 minutes just to dot down. But we're pretty blessed with the outside backs that we have. We've got guys who can cover the centres as well. So whether or not that'll happen, hopefully that'll be a dream.
Now, I have got one more question for you, Dwayne, before we close the show. I've got a lot of mates who ask a lot of questions about the current Auckland halfback, Jonathan Ruru. Now, I know he's a different style of halfback, very, very big halfback, very competitive halfback. But I've got a couple of friends, and even myself, having seen somebody like both Danny Tusitala and is it Tofa Funaki as well from Marist. And on the occasion that I saw Funaki play, he just looked a really heady young player. Who's the next? And I noticed those two boys are both in the Auckland squad. Is it time to unleash one of those young boys?
Oh, yeah, I guess you're never too young. If you're good enough, you're able. And it just probably depends on the style that Auckland wanting to play. I can't really comment on that. But yeah, they're definitely different styles. Ruru's big, strong. It was almost like an extra loose forward, and will be good for games like Wellington, who came in with a bigger pack and were very confrontational. And definitely defended Auckland actually quite well. Auckland, who have X factor across the park, and just defended really well. So it just depends on the style they want to play. And yeah, it probably does take a chance their arm and just give one of those young boys a run, because you won't know unless you try, sort of thing. So you can go through the season and stay safe, or give them 20 minutes here and there, or give them after 20 minutes, give them 40. I'm not a coach, but I'm guessing if I was a young nine in the Auckland system, I'll be itching to get an opportunity. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, give me 20. I'll definitely take it with both hands. So I'm sure those boys are itching to go, but it probably just depends on the coach's style and what they see in the next coming weeks. Maybe they're saving them for the next coming weeks. Who knows?
Glad you haven't had a haircut too, mate. Some of the halfbacks, some of these haircuts, they're running around with at the moment. But I thought
I'd will probably give me a call right away, so that won't be happening.
I'd actually thought I'd seen everything, and then I saw Joe Webber on Saturday evening, and I thought, yep, I don't know. The bar's been raised or the bar came down, one of the two.
Yeah, it's right in between that one. I wouldn't. Yeah, that's definitely a different one.
Yeah, I was going to have a chat with Danny and say, look, your hair's not outlandish enough anymore. We can't spot you. But then I noticed he had this little kind of little plait. They were kind of like, that's got to get in his eye line, which must be distracting for a 9. But Stephen, I was going to say, thinking about that tennis player we had at during the morning sports briefing this morning on his birthday, only having one lung. I got to say, Dwayne's got to feel lucky. He's got 2 lungs to run around with, eh?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm feeling blessed now. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
So thank you very much, Boa. Thank you very much, Dwayne. Thank you very much, Stephen, for joining us this evening. Don't forget, we'll be back at 8 p.m. next Monday, with your rugby union fix. And you can join us at 7 a.m. every single morning for the morning sports briefing, your best way to start the day up to speed with all of the important sports news.